Hello bookworms, I'm Hannah, and today I'm talking about the 2017 Man Booker Prize longlist. After I finished reading and ranking all of the books longlisted for the 2017 Bailey's Women's Prize, several people asked me if I'd be doing the same thing for the Man Booker. My answer was always vague and non-committal because the Baileys had just consumed my life for 2.5 months. But then the long list was announced, and it's such an enticing array of books that my interest was piqued. When I get curious about a book or books, it's almost impossible to quell my curiosity. Two questions emerged from this unbridled curiosity. One, do I want to read the entire long list? For which the answer was, surprisingly, yes. And two, how do I want to organize my video reviews? With the Baileys, I read the entire long list first, then organized my video reviews, ranking the books in order from least to top favorite. I like that format, but it requires that I first read all the books, which means an awful lot of time passes before I can deliver feedback to all of you. I toyed with the idea of doing individual reviews for each book, but my schedule is just too packed right now to provide quality spotlight reviews that would do each book justice, so I've decided to release group videos covering 3 to 4 Man Booker nominees per video, and I'll continue to post these videos as I make my way through the long list. Today I'm talking about 4 long list books, and I'm going over them in order from least to top favorite in relation to each other, not in relation to the complete long list. First up is Swing Time by Zadie Smith. The story concerns 2 girls who tacitly agree to be friends because they're the only brown girls in their dance class. The protagonist and narrator, who remains nameless throughout the book, is practical and passionate about dance but lacks real talent, whereas her friend Tracy is a careless diva with tremendous natural talent. Their friendship is steadfast because of their youthful naivety about their differing socioeconomic statuses, but as they get older, their friendship is shaken by their differences becoming more and more apparent. This book starts out engaging, but quickly digresses into a tedious read for a few reasons. First, the ricocheting timeline. I know it's common for literary books to have a non-linear timeline, but this one is especially challenging to keep track of. The narrative bounces erratically through 25 years of the narrator's life, and even though this is a book about music and dance, there is no rhythm to this timeline. Second, the nameless narrator. Throughout the book, she's recounting what happened in her past, so it makes sense for her to have some degree of emotional detachment, but she's so detached that she comes across as generic and unfeeling. Naming her wouldn't have solved this problem, but it would have given her some much-needed shape. Finally, the chapters about the narrator's adult life, wherein she works as a personal assistant to a famous singer/humanitarian, are grueling, compared to the chapters about her childhood, which give a convincing portrayal of the awkward rites of passage and bizarre social hierarchies of prepubescent life. The chapters about her as an adult feel insubstantial. In fact, a strong argument could be made that the book would be significantly improved by omitting those chapters altogether. The question is, as a work of literary fiction, does this book provide cultural value? And the answer is yes, with a but. Yes, because it explores timeless themes like the way class, race, and cultural heritage shape us as individuals, or how a person's ideologies and frame of reference affect their view of the world. And it explores timely hot-button issues like cultural appropriation and white privilege. But all of that valuable content is buried beneath tiresome, uneventful fluff. And really, that's the bottom line. Swing Time is too bloated with needless filler for its powerful themes to have resonance. Next up is Autumn by Ali Smith, the first book in a 4-part series where each book will be named after one of the 4 seasons. Set in England, Autumn takes place in the summer and fall of 2016 during the months after the Brexit vote. It follows 32-year-old Elizabeth Demand, who regularly sits at the bedside of 101-year-old Daniel Gluck as he lies dreaming and slowly dying in a care facility. This book has been described as literary decoupage, and that's an accurate summary of the way it's constructed in relation to its content and its timeline. The story shifts between Elizabeth's life as she attempts to renew her passport, visits her dying friend, or recalls how she and Daniel met when she was a little girl, and Daniel's dreams, wherein he recounts important people and memories from his past. Elizabeth's chapters are realistic, whereas Daniel's chapters are surreal and abstract. Not only does the book oscillate between the real and the unreal, the comprehensive and the abstruse, it's also chronologically erratic. It leaps forward and backward through time, bouncing around to different months, seasons, and years. For that reason, it can sometimes be difficult to follow the story or to unearth all that Smith intends to say about social and political issues. Among the book's many themes is an examination of the power of storytelling. Stories are what bring Daniel and Elizabeth together after they first meet. Daniel teaches Elizabeth how to tell stories, and he describes paintings she's never seen before in ways that allow her to visualize them. Quite often he's describing the work of 60s pop icon Pauline Bodie, whose collages make a suitable metaphor for Smith's novel, since both are comprised of layered images or scenes, thoughts, and ideas. The relationship between Daniel and 8-year-old Elizabeth is a sentimental portrayal of unorthodox soulmates and was the primary source of my enjoyment of this book. I would welcome the opportunity to read their story in a more developed, linear format. Bottom line, Autumn is ambitious for its distinctiveness, but is too subtle and fractal for the scope of its depth to be fully grasped in one read. Second from the top is a literary debut, History of Wolves by Emily Fridland. This is a coming-of-age story about a 14-year-old girl named Madeline, also known as Linda, who lives with her mother in an abandoned commune in northern Minnesota. Linda is a lonely outcast who, on her quest to find a sense of belonging, latches onto inappropriate and psychologically damaging relationships. This proved a challenging book to rate. Some elements of it I loved, while others left me feeling unfulfilled. My favorite element of this book is Fridland's ability to create mood and to describe the setting in a way that's both alluring and easy to visualize. A gloomy forest interred by winter materializes through Fridland's descriptions of snow crunching underfoot, chill blasts of wind coming off the frozen lake, pine trees creaking and groaning, and branches rattling down old rain. Within this cold world of quiet beauty, a subtle darkness pervades everything. A shocking revelation is made in the book's opening pages that's an enticing invitation to continue reading, and it becomes evident early on that there's something off about Linda. As a narrator, she's 37 years old, recounting the events of a transformative year in her life as a teenager, and she often recalls witnessing something beautiful, then casually mentions how she longed for something violent or disturbing to transpire in that moment. Where the book suffers is plot and pacing. The mystery introduced in the opening pages reads like a promise that if readers proceed, there will be an even greater revelation later, or some kind of payoff. But after a slow build towards suspense, the book putters to a humdrum conclusion. Yet another missed opportunity arrives in the form of the book's subplot, which concerns Linda's relationship with her history teacher, Mr. Grierson. He's accused of having an inappropriate relationship with one of his students, and even though there's great potential for a scandalous story about unconscionable behavior, Mr. Grierson is introduced early, flits away, and is then hastily tacked onto the end of the story. Bottom line, History of Wolves is commendable for its atmospheric prose and unsettling narrator, but after building slowly, it reaches an ineffectual conclusion. Finally, my top pick from this group of Man Booker Prize longlist nominees is Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. It follows two young people, Nadia and Saeed, who meet and begin to fall in love just as their country is on the cusp of civil war. Their feelings for one another are expedited as war escalates and the city is destroyed, drawing them inextricably closer. When they hear rumors of doors that transport people to distant, safer locations, they go in search of the doors, resolved to leave their homeland together. Hamid's portrayal of the nameless country in which Nadia and Saeed reside is vividly rendered as a place where the common trivialities of day-to-day life collide with the violence and devastation caused by war. Nadia and Saeed are ordinary people whose lives are uprooted by forces beyond their control. They go on a date to a Chinese restaurant and are awkward and shy, but on the way home, they must navigate streets laden with refugees and pass through two checkpoints manned by soldiers and the police. As the war intensifies, the city begins to crumble and everything in it transforms in relation to the city's metamorphosis. Windows, once thought of as objects that frame a tranquil view, now pose a threat because a nearby blast will turn them into shrapnel. A bed, once an object for comfort or slumber, is now best used to block the dangerous windows. In other words, the place Nadia and Saeed once thought of as home they now see as a death trap. It's no wonder they go in search of the doors said to escort people out of their war-torn country. The doors, which are derived from a pinch of magical realism, allow for instantaneous travel. By choosing to omit a long and arduous trek, Hamid tells a different kind of refugee story, one that's not about the journey, but rather about the people, who they were before and who they must learn to be after being forced to abandon their homeland. We're sometimes given little sneak peeks into the lives of other unnamed characters passing through the doors, but mostly we follow Nadia and Saeed. Their love story is grounded in reality. Both of them are inevitably changed by their experience, not always to the benefit of their relationship. The triumphs and woes of Nadia and Saeed's journey, their relationship, and their search for a new home in a fickle world is captivating and relatable because of Hamid's linguistic elegance. He weaves simple prose into long, carefully constructed sentences, many of which are breathtaking and resonant. Bottom line, Exit West is a profound, insightful exploration of finding love, family, and identity amidst war and exile. That concludes today's Man Booker Prize wrap-up video. Please let me know your thoughts on the long list in the comments below, and if you've read any of the books discussed in today's video, tell me what you thought of them. Thanks, everybody!